Hi,
Hi.
MJ.
Hi. Good morning, Bree. How are you? It's good to see you.
Good, good. It's so good to hear from you. Hey, there's a lot on my mind. I'm glad we get to chat this morning. I've been working with these teams, and I was thinking of I love your book, by the way. I've been reading Engineering and Epiphany.
Oh, thank you.
Really thinking about it. Oh, it's fantastic. I do want to kind of set the table. I remember the first time I feel like I knew about you and your career. And this is when I actually was working at Epic. You weren't there anymore.
Right.
And I went to it was Baylor Scott, I think it was just Scott and White at the time, was going live with Epic.
Mhm.
And I was in Austin and some people pointed you out and they're like, that's MJ Reiners. She is badass. Like she is bringing these teams, and it was an Epic install and it's bringing this huge organization across the finish line and transforming their EHR, right? These massive
Right.
lifts. And so I remember the first time I heard of you was this legend, this powerhouse, and someone who had the ability to get this massive technology project across the finish line with health systems. I'm so excited for your book, but I don't know if you want to say a little bit about that. I know you've really worked with a lot of health systems in this type of change, and I'd love you to talk a little bit about it. It wasn't just Scott and White, but I know it's been funny. You're like, is that what people said? And it's like, yeah, that's people say all the time.
Well, honestly, thank you for that really generous introduction. You people don't say those things to your face, right? But I've had the blessing of working with really, really incredible teams over the years, and every single organization I've worked with, I really truly cherish. And I learned a lot about change and how people move through change by leading these large, electronic medical record implementations. And I've been doing it for over 20 years. In that time, I did make a lot of mistakes, and many of them were really painful. So in the past few years, I've been committed to sharing what I learned, and that's what brought me to publishing the book last year, Engineering and Epiphany, because I'm just really passionate that our ability to execute on change and to do it well is more important now than ever. And the lessons in the book are all the more relevant in a world where artificial intelligence is going to be transforming all industries, including healthcare. I think the powerful thing to remember that my book really dives in deeply is that it explains that it's no strategy, no goal, no vision can be successful until the energy surrounding the newer, stronger thought form, newer, stronger vision can overcome that previous one. And when we
Right.
hold on so tight to status quo, that really limits our ability to move forward. And the book is going to show you how, by teaching a novel formula, as well as the energy principles that are necessary for success.
Right. I mean, everyone knows you and I are going to have a whole nother session on AI, the maturity of the solution, the timeliness of the solution itself.
Right.
But when the time is right for change, and I don't think the time is right yet in nursing. I think that there's an exciting digital world that we're exploring, and there's a lot of change that needs to happen. But I do,
And I agree with you. I agree with you.
yeah,
To jump in on that, there's two things though that healthcare can do now, and that is to get back to governance. Many
yeah,
organizations have really good governance in place. Some stopped their governance processes after they implemented the electronic medical record because they kind of thought of it as a process. I mean, I'm sorry,
right.
a project, but ongoing technology evolution is going to require governance to be constantly updated. So I think it's important to go back to governance and look at those decisions and your guiding principles there. And
Yes,
also, a thing that can be really helpful for organizations to do now is that workflow analysis, right?
yeah,
Because we have to get to a point where, I mean, my personal belief about technology is that the goal is not use. Technology use is not the goal. Implementing the technology is not the hard part. It's the human part that's tough.
yeah,
And we've got to get to a point where solutions actually delight the consumer, actually delight the caregiver. And that's why I really am excited about Nurse Disrupted, because you guys are having a whole solution that can really, really delight nursing and to help solve their workflow problems that have been in existence for so long. Not all of them, but you're going to bring delight to their day-to-day experience. And from there, we move on to further, more complicated workflow challenges.
Yeah, I love that. I think that we can find a reality where nurses are excited to go to work, like they're looking forward
Yes,
to
exactly.
the
That's
day
so
and the work.
important. Yeah, right. And that's
Yeah,
part of my book. I talk about 2 chapters. I talk about excitement as being a major energy force for change, and joy is a huge part of that.
yeah.
And how to implement joy and work with joy throughout the day-to-day process of a transformation is huge to help change be actually successful.
Right. I like what you were touching on as well. The joy, yeah, this transformation is possible. I like what you were getting at. And I think what was going through my head as you were talking is technology doesn't fix broken processes. Like when we go back to governance and I think of the way that nurses work, no technology fixes totally broken processes. It
Correct.
makes us look at the way that things do need to work, and agreed, like technology cannot be there for the sake of technology. And I think that does happen a lot when people get in a room and think, what is the app? What is the thing that I can design versus how can I improve somebody's life? How can I
Exactly.
make this, existence, the way that we practice, the way that things happen way better? But people hear me say it a lot, right? We have the wrong protagonist in the story when the protagonist is the technology instead of the human beings that are evolving around it.
You nailed it. In the past, we have focused on technology implementations as a project, and we've
Yeah,
designed our implementations around a project, which has a beginning and an end. But what I would love to see, and I think that's where Nurse Disrupted has a big opportunity in this space, is human designed implementation, because that's what's really going to drive transformation is, and it moves beyond, software. It does move into robotics and AI in the future. Is where does the human oversight happen? Where does the human decisions get made? And
right.
which problems are we solving with technology, and which ones can we help elevate the human experience so there is better outcomes, better patient care outcomes when we can elevate the nurse experience so they can do more of that caregiving that they want to do, and to solve those mundane problems that they deal with every day.
And nursing is ready for transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for the work we're doing, I mean, it's a three-legged stool. It's operations, it's the practice of nursing and nursing leadership and such. It's finance and it's IT.
Mm-hmm.
And nursing is ready for transformation. Agreed. We know that there is a better tomorrow that we have to strive for. Finance and hospitals, boy, are they ready for it, right? I mean, the economics of a hospital really ride on us as nurses. There's so many of us. You have done so much in the transformation. The third part of this is IT teams. And I'd love to hear a little bit about how you inspire, how you get that part across the finish line in these projects. For us, it's nursing's ready, finance is ready. I'd love just some words of wisdom on the IT teams and health systems and how we bring that joy and that purpose for transformation projects like the way that Nurse Disrupted does virtual nursing.
Right. Well, I've worked with some great, IT individuals. And I guess the one thing that I've been able to do is explain the need in ways that they understand. That was part of my education when I was going through college, and my master's degree was management information systems. So I'm a good translator or a good mediator. And a lot of times, I'm able to say, okay, this is what the doctor needs. This is what the nurse needs in this case. And then I can also explain to the doctor or to the nurse or the caregivers, here's how the IT people think, and here's their process for gathering data, gathering input, and I've been able to do that successfully. But the challenge that sometimes happens, and I really encourage, and this is a technique that I learned at Epic and it works really well, is to help get your IT folks out into the hospital, into the clinic, and let them actually, with their own eyes, with their own ears, walk through that day-to-day experience of that caregiver. Because by nature, IT folks are problem solvers. They want to solve the problem. But until they have that, that sensory experience, and they're busy like everybody, right? Everybody has way too much on their plate, and so that hold on to status quo, and that resistance to change a lot of times is out of exhaustion, and just there's just too much demand versus the hours of teams that they have to put in. But when you can prioritize a big problem and help them to actually experience it with their own senses, a lot of times it's something really quick that they can fix, and they will just be super passionate to run back to their office and to get that change made in the system, in the code, in the build, whatever that might be. But with larger projects, that takes, leadership, and the leaders have to walk the walk and talk the talk and help bring a bigger, brighter vision, and build it around excitement and having them understand how their IT, in their office and in their code and in their experience really is going to mean a lot more to their community, to their organization that they work for. When I was at Baylor Scott and White, we talked a lot about, you are in, the IT, and you may consider that, back office type of activity, but your work has an absolute impact on consumers and patients. In the book, there's a whole story that I talk about a horrific car crash that happened on one of my go lives, the very, very first, that were really critically injured. And they called the paramedics came in, and they airlifted these 3 kids to a children's hospital that we had already gone live with. And I don't have to tell you, you're a nurse, I am not, but in a situation like that, seconds count, right? So all of those caregivers at that hospital, in that OR, the children's hospital, they already preloaded everything that they knew that the paramedics had given them, blood types, everything, vitals, all those things. And so they hit the ground running. And the story about that is, thank God, those kids did survive. And the very next day, the CEO came to our go live, and he looked around at every single person in that room in IT, all these IT workers. And he said, he looked them in the eye, he had tears, and his voice was choking him. He's like, you guys made a difference. I hope that you understand that how your work connected to saving those children. And, you don't get stuff like that every day. And I've worked in healthcare IT 20 years. That was the only time that happened. But smaller things happened where we improved on medical error, or we caught something in advance. And so I think it helps when leaders and certainly other interdisciplines, nurses explain to IT workers, the impact of their work. And then they have more meaning, more joy. And it's not just check the box, I'm finishing this code, those kind of things. So it's bringing meaning to how important their work really is.
So that gave me goosebumps, that story, and how you tie the emotion back to the work, because I think that there's a place sometimes where we think of technology as separate from emotion, but it's not. It is still our humanity. It is the space that we have, and you having such a presence and ability to lead change in IT through that emotional awareness and such is just incredible to see and hear. And so thank you for that. That's incredible, and should be a constant reminder when we think of, when we embark on these IT projects, that it's important for the IT team as well to see the change and the impact that they're having on healthcare, on people, on nurses. I'm going to work to incorporate that more. I think it's a fantastic point. So thank you so much for that. I feel like I've got a lot to do on that. So
well, we all can help, share stories, right? Stories is what transforms at the individual level as well as the organization level. And part of my book that when I'm sharing it with people is that, your personal experience, with people being stuck, it's common. 70% of all change efforts fail, and change management as we know it, it's broken. And the problem is our physical effort alone just doesn't cut it, and it's exhausting. And we jump to tasks and checklists and getting it done, which is clearly, we must have outcomes, we must be able to execute well. But we got to get upstream of that physical effort to where success actually starts. And that is in our energy. And that's what all my book is entirely about, is a 3-step process and the energy principles to align your mindset, your emotional set with your physical activity, because that is how change sticks. That is how we get things actually done. But when those are misaligned, you're going to struggle and have a lot of additional pain that really isn't necessary.
Excellent guidance. This is just brilliant, MJ. Thank you so much. I feel like it's time to put my head down, get to work, and put some of these principles to work.
All
So
right, Bree. It's
thank
so
you
good to
so
see
much.
you. Yes,
That was
be good. Be
great.
safe out there. The snow is so beautiful. I was playing with my puppies right before this phone call, and they're jumping around in the snow. It's just so beautiful out there.
Yeah, I'm glad for snow too. Hopefully I get to ski here pretty soon. So
All right. Well, I'll
awesome.
talk to you soon. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.